I've collected quite a lot of data on this now, and I wanted to have a go just to demonstrate this idea that how to increase speed is one of the most specific methods of training, and that strength is not speed. Now, this is the data that I've managed to collect over probably 6 months of training, and these are distances moving from generally from 30 meters to 300 meters. Now, I've managed to get all this data together and cross-reference it with both training loads being done at the time of these performances, the overall loading, the type of loading, and also referencing the body weight and level of strength preparation, and then we can then cross-reference that with these times to see what actually produces speed performance and whether strength has an impact on that. Now, the most interesting thing, I run 30s every Sunday morning, and they're a really nice indicator because even if you get zero point 0.1 or even 0.05 off a 30-meter time, then that's a significant improvement because it's such a short distance. These times are all taken. They're all hand times, so if they look a little bit fast, it's because they're hand times. And the thing that I take is that it's the same person doing it in exactly the same way every week. So if it was an electronic time, you'd probably add 0.4, 0.5 onto all of these times to get the real electronic time, but they're all taken by the same person using the same method, the same hand time. So these times are all comparable to each other. Now, the first thing we want to start with is the earlier scores. Now, earlier training, I want to just have a look first of all at when we have a strength peak, when I was the strongest I've been. So if we look on my weight tracking, you can see here that my weight has gone depending on the phase of training, but there's a spike in weight here. Okay, so we would go up to almost 200 pounds, and that is on the sort of the 3rd of May. Okay, so the weight that high on the 3rd of May, you would think that the strength is very, very high at that point. Lots of strength training. And so on the 3rd of May, if we look then at the data from the 3rd of May, you can see here that with that body weight, sprint performances, especially here, are not particularly good if you look at the other times going around. Be interesting if we move forward in this column now to some longer distances. You can see here that 200s generally around 24.5, maybe 25 seconds, and there's no 300-meter reps at all, probably because the amount of strength training being done at that point in time means that your muscles are way too stiff to do any long sprinting. And these 120-meter times and these 150-meter times, these are not good times. So while perhaps the acceleration is quite good due to the incredibly high in relation to body weight strength here, longer distances at this body weight are not all that impressive. And that kind of is obvious. So there's the obvious point backed up by the data here that being heavy but being really strong does not make you run faster, and at best it's going to perhaps increase your very, very short distance performance. But actually there's some data later on to actually counter that. Now the next thing I want to look at is the strength peak based on the data that we have. So the strongest that I have, which is backed up by some data, is this table here. Now 26th of June we have a 185 kilogram squat and a 205 kilogram box squat. So this suggests that you have a strength peak roughly towards the end of June. Now it'd be interesting to see what the sprint times are like at the end of June. So If we just check what body weight was at that point in time, so we've got a 185 squat. Now, when the body weight was around 200 pounds, I'm pretty sure I could have squatted that then. So we might, but I don't have the data to back that up. So based purely on the data, all right, we've got a 26th of June max back squat of 185 kilograms at body weight of 26th of June. There, at a body weight of 182 pounds. So 182 pounds being roughly 85 kilograms, a 185 back squat is about 2.25 times body weight. So that is a strength peak. That is definitely what I found, is that I can't, when I'm at 2.25 on a squat of the body weight, I can't get any stronger than that. That's like the maximum I can do. No matter how much more I strength train, I can't seem to get more than times 2.25 body weight on a squat or a deadlift. Slightly more on a deadlift. I can get 2.5 on a deadlift, but never more than that. So strength peak here at a weight of 182 pounds. That's quite a good strength to weight ratio. And so if strength was speed, my times would be the best at this point in time. So now we look at the data from the 26th of June for speed. June, here we go. Now, as you can see here, these 30-meter times are better than they were when I was heavy. Naturally, that's obvious. But you can see that there's a big gap here between, there's about a month gap, and I can tell you now exactly, it's triggered my memory. There's an injury there. There's a calf injury, and you can't sprint. And again, being really, really strong does predispose you to that type of thing. I can actually have a look at the training loads, the type of training loads we were doing at that period of time. So if we go back and have a look at the actual loads being performed in June, I need to get the dates. Let's have a look. So that's here. That's block A1 and A2. So those are strength blocks, but A1 and A2, if we look here, look, I mean that's 2 heavy leg sessions in one day. We've got tempo and some upper body strength work. We've got another really heavy strength session there. Oh, more strength. Okay. I mean, that is a lot of strength training. And there's some data here for the loads being lifted. These are heavy loads for my body weight. These are heavy loads. So if that's the kind of training that's going on there, but it's predisposing me to injury, I would suggest that that's an excessive amount of training. And going back to the actual times being run at that period of time, we can see here that we're knocking around 3.8s, 3.9s, 3.8s, maybe a few 3.7s on the 30-meter reps. If we zoom forward, we're running 40s, maybe just getting into a 39 there, a 41, that's a slow one, for 300s, rarely running 2 reps and no 200-meter data. So again there, strong produces that kind of performance and that kind of performance. Now, this is going to be the interesting bit, because I want to put, because if you look here at the times I'm running now, there was a moment in time, it was about here. No, here. I started running just much better times, and you can see here the average is really a 3.6, whereas the average up here at the strength peak is a 3.8 or a 3.7, and we're even pinching a few 3.5s there. So this is significantly better running than this, and it's a different planet to this. This person here would beat this person here out of the blocks probably by 2 or 3 meters over 30 meters, and that is an absolutely different world. So the first thing we need to do is have a look at the body weight. So body weight on these times is 13 stone. It's knocking around. It's the lightest. Okay, let's put it that way. It's lighter. It's much lighter. Um, Significantly lighter. And I can tell you that max squat at the moment is probably 165. In fact, I think I have some data to back that up. So with the max squat, where would that be? At this lighter body weight, here we go. Yeah, 19th of the 10th, you can see here that the max squat is down by 20 kilograms. 20 kilograms weaker on the squat. Same on the deadlift. Well, again, when I was the heavy, it was a 210 deadlift. So 20 kilograms weaker on the squat and the deadlift, and 10 kilograms weaker on the bench press. But so we're not strong there, and we're light. If we look at the training loads being used, training program is, I mean, look at the thing that hits me here is the gaps. Look at the amount of rest being used in comparison to that crazy week you saw before. There's more tempo, there's more speed work and more speed endurance work. There is gym work, but it's generally being performed once a week. So there's one strength session for maintenance a week. In this week, there's no strength work, it's all running. And in this week, where it moves on to condition, we've got conditioning. So that's running, hill sprints, running. And then I've got gym on that final day, put on the same day as the speed endurance. So the type of training going on here is heavily running based. And tempo's not even fast. Tempo's 65%. So we've got much more rest being put into the weeks, much less weights work, and weaker. But this is the best bit. If we now compare this with the speed attributes, you can see here after testing series 1, we have a drop on speed endurance, quite strong acceleration and speed. That is what being lighter and weaker does. Okay? And that is, I would argue, is the most important factor. Because unless you're a sports player like a rugby player, the acceleration is not going to win you a race. It's not going to make you faster. Speed and speed endurance are the ones that are going to win you races. And if we're saying weaker but lighter and doing more running, sprint loads, we've already seen that the thing that strength training is supposed to improve, this short stuff, the short stuff is better when you're lighter. Now, the long stuff, there's not even a comparison. We've got a 23.55 there, a 23.9 there. These other times are only slightly slower because this is the second rep. I do all of these after a 300 meter rep. And 300 meters, does not go above 40 seconds, not once. And we've got a 38 there, and we've got a 38 there. So, in response to the sort of question, does strength training make you faster? No, it doesn't. Having said that, it's important to maintain a good level of strength because you are going to get off the blocks better with a higher maximum force production, but it's not going to impact these ones. So I suppose the conclusion is the longer the distance that you sprint, the less important strength training becomes. And just one final point to make. On this program, if you look at the earlier strength loads, we're talking reps of 4, 3, and then only 2 plyometric jumps. But then if we move on to what we're doing now, and now is when I'm producing the best performances, the thing that's made the difference is the introduction of this barbell jump squat. Just the empty bar, 20 kilograms, but 15 jumps. 15 jumps. Again here, look, 15 jumps. Then there are even days when I've done 20 jumps, but there's 12 jumps there, 15 jumps, and that hits again the high speed strength and the strength endurance